Hi everyone, thanks for joining us tonight on the SYA Spain Google Hangout with some alums. My name is Kate Martell. I'm the Admissions Marketing Manager here at SYA, and I have some very special guests joining me tonight. Matt, would you like to start by introducing yourself?
Sure. Some of you guys may know me. You guys might have received emails from me, or you might have seen me at your school. My name is Matt Levinson. I am Assistant Director of Admissions here at School Year Abroad. I'm also the SYA Spain Country Manager, and perhaps most importantly for this Google Hangout, I am SYA Spain Class of 2008.
Nice, thank you. And joining us remotely, we have two special guests, Ella and Justin. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hi, my name is Ella. I graduated from SYA Spain last year. I'm currently a senior at the Packer Collegiate Institute in New York, and I'm going to Middlebury in the fall.
Ooh, congrats.
Right on.
My name is Justin Tice. I was in the same SYA Spain class with Ella. I go to the Westminster schools in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm going to Brown next year.
Cool.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. We're going to be in New England.
Yeah.
Good, you should swing by the office sometime. Say hi. So a little bit about the format tonight for everyone that's watching. First, I want to congratulate all of you. Congratulations. If you're watching, you have been accepted to the SYA Spain class of 2017. Congratulations. We are going to ask our alums some questions, and I think Justin will be back in just 1 second. But we're going to ask some questions, some frequently asked questions to our alums, and then we'll open it up to questions from you. So if you would like to put your name in the chat box too, your name, your school, and what state you're from so that we can all get to know each other a little bit better. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat box underneath the video, and we will do our best to get to those at the end. So Ella, we're going to start with you because I think Justin's connection was lost, so hopefully he can come back and join us. But do you want to talk a little bit about how you felt when you were accepted to SYA and what made you decide to attend?
Well, when I was accepted to SYA, I was very, very excited, obviously. And what made me want to attend was that I wanted kind of an experience that was different from my school that I go to now, because I've been here since kindergarten. And I think this was a great way to do that without actually leaving the school. So.
Yeah, that was a common theme that we've heard the last couple of nights where students had been at their home schools for their entire lives and we're looking for something different.
Yeah.
Justin, thanks so much for coming back. We missed you. So Ella was just answering my first question, which was how you felt when you were accepted to SYA Spain and what made you decide to attend.
Right, well, when I was accepted, I was in shock for a long time. I had that I was going to be even changing schools until it was the end of my sophomore year. But when I was thinking about Spain for the rest of my sophomore year. That was all I thought about. I was so excited. And what made me decide to go, I had a babysitter when I was a little kid who was, I think, class of 2006 for SYA Italy. And so I knew since I was a kid that I was going to go. And then when I got accepted, there was no doubt in my mind that I was going. So.
Oh, wow. So you knew that you wanted to go to SYA since you were a little one being babysat.
Yeah.
That's cool. So when you guys got to school, what were your first impressions of the school, of your classmates, of Zaragoza? Sort of what were the first couple of days like when you got there?
Justin, do you want to go first?
Sure. Right. When you're first getting there, your first impression of everyone is how they are at the airport and who you're meeting at that time, which doesn't really do them justice. And then you get into school and you kind of know everyone, but through the whole first month of SYA, all these people whom you meet, their personalities are completely different when you first get to meet them. So I think it's changing at the beginning. So, but eventually it settles down. And as far as the actual school, It's right in the middle of the busy part of Zaragoza, which is really nice because you have even a short 10-minute or 15-minute break. You can go grab coffee. Really in the middle of Zaragoza. So it never got old for me.
Yeah, Justin, I don't know if you're on breaking up just a little bit. So I don't know if there's a better Wi-Fi you can jump on or not.
I'm sorry, I'm on hotel.
Okay. Okay, bye, Justin. He's still there. I don't know. Okay, so Ella, do you want to talk a little bit about your first impressions of SYA Spain and your classmates?
Well, my first impression was like, oh my gosh, like these people are like so cool. They like all came here to like learn a new language, and also what I thought was cool is that they came from like all over, because I never lived anywhere but New York City, so it was like cool to meet people from, you know, like all over America and even like the world. Like we had one kid from London and one kid from Bangladesh, so that was really cool. My first impression of the school was that it was like a little, different from my home school, because it was like smaller and like all of our classes were in Spanish. So, and I thought, and it was like a lot more like intimate setting because we were all like pretty much always in the same room together. And as Justin said, it was kind of like in the city center, so it was easy to like just go and like grab a cup of coffee or whatever, which was really nice as well.
Matt, what about you? And I wanted to ask you, I'm sorry I didn't, about how you felt when you were accepted to SYA Spain. If you can remember that.
Yes, I can answer both questions. So one, when I was accepted to SYA Spain, my first thought was something along the lines of, oh wow, like I had submitted my application and I was very excited about the program. I submitted my application in November. This was before we had the online application.
You were ready.
So I sent in all of my materials by mail, by snail mail. And I heard back from SYA in March, and it had been about 6 months, and I had anything to do with SYA, and I heard back from them, and I was super excited, very nervous. It didn't really dawn on me what I was doing until I probably got to the airport to get on the plane to go to Zaragoza. That's when I was like, I'm actually going to Spain. This is actually happening. And it was pretty scary at first, I have to say, and within the first couple of weeks, I felt much more comfortable than I did when I first got there. I ended up connecting with my host family really quickly, even though they didn't really speak any English. They knew a few words here and there, and it was sort of like this game of charades we played for a little while until I learned enough Spanish to be able to communicate. And it was just incredible how quickly I sort of was able to make a connection with them, even though we didn't share a language at first. And then my first impression of the school, well, I went to a different school. Casa Foster, which is where SYA Spain is now, did not exist, or that's not where we were when I was there, so it was a little bit different. We were in a place called Plaza de Aragon, which is very close to where our current school is, and I remember going there and meeting all the students and just being like, this is so different than my home school. You know, I had classes, English and math, but the school was much smaller. It was much more intimate, and what was really cool is that everyone was there for the same reason. Everyone was there to learn Spanish, and I just thought that was really amazing to have all these people gathered in one place for one reason, and really finding sort of that common bond between me and my classmates at once was pretty awesome.
Yeah, cool, thank you. For those of you who are just joining us, I want to remind you to ask any questions that you have in the chat box below the video. And if you also want to introduce yourself and say your name and your school and the state that you live in, that would be great. Unfortunately, Justin will not be able to continue to join us. His Wi-Fi is not working, but the great news is we have Ella. So I just wanted to update you guys on that. So talking about your memories of your host family, Ella, what was your host family like, and do you have any favorite memories of them?
Yeah, so my host family, it was just me and my host mom. Her name was Josefina. She was really, really sweet. We got along really, really well. And my favorite memory of her was when we went together on a trip to like we went hiking in like this kind of like mountain near Aragon with all of her family, like her kids who were a lot older. And it was like a really fun experience because we got to see like the leaves changing color, and it was just really nice.
Nice. What about you, Matt?
I have a bunch of good memories of my host family. Definitely, one I talk about a lot is when my real family, my American family, came to visit me over Christmas break. And I remember having this. We had this during on Christmas Day. We had this big lunch. You know, it was a big Spanish lunch, which is very common. You know, where we had paella, torta, and all these kinds of amazing foods out. And I remember my American family obviously doesn't speak any Spanish. My host family didn't really speak any English, and so just having these, 12 people basically at this one table, and all of us having a conversation, except we're not really speaking the same language, and I'm trying to translate for the whole table. And so, my dad would tell a joke, and then one side of the family would be laughing, and then I have to translate it for my host family, and then they start laughing at like a 5-second delay. That was one of my favorite memories of the whole experience, because it was like, I'm 16 years old and I'm like translating for this entire table. Like, how cool is that? So
Nice.
It was a fun experience.
Matt, do you want to talk just a minute about the actual host family selection process and how that works? Because I know a lot of students ask about that as well.
Sure. So a lot of you guys who have been accepted have not received any forms for enrollment. That typically doesn't happen
But you will.
until April at the earliest. But part of those forms is what's called a host family placement questionnaire, which is where we ask you what kind of family you would like to live with. Do you have any dietary restrictions? Are you religiously observant? Would you like to have host siblings? Do you like young children? Do you not like young children? These are all very important questions. We ask that of you, and we ask that of your parents. And then we actually have a host family placement committee at SYA Spain, which is made up of our resident director, Virginia Vernizi, our host family placement coordinator at SYA Spain, as well as a handful of the faculty there. And they actually make the placements with the individual host families. And so, not everyone gets the host family that's tailor-made exactly for what they have to have 3.5 children and a dog, and they have to live on the 3rd floor of an apartment building. We try to get as close to what you ask for as possible. And so the vast majority of the time we have really, really good success rate with placing students with their host families.
Yeah.
And it really is a really cool experience to have this connection with someone who you don't necessarily share the language with at first, and that they really become like a family to.
Yeah, and they are just as excited to meet all of you as you are to meet them. And that's something that I think we always forget about, that you might be a little nervous, but they're a little nervous too. They're excited though. So Ella, do you want to talk a little bit about classes and if they were similar or different from the classes at your home school? Maybe if you had a favorite class.
Yeah, so I took a Spanish history class with Alvaro, and that was like one of my favorite classes ever. He's an awesome teacher. But in terms of like the electives, the only thing that was different from my homeschool is that in 11th grade, my homeschool makes you take biology, and Spain only offers Envi-Sci, so I ended up taking Envi-Sci, and I really liked it as well. But I thought the electives, considering how small the school is, I thought there was a wide variety of things that you could choose from, and you could really pick any class that was that you were interested in.
Great. What about you, Matt?
Well, I have to say that I would have to agree with you, Ella. I also had Alvaro Avila for Spanish history, and that was one of my favorite classes while I was over there. A lot of the electives that are now available at SYA Spain are new in the past 6 years, which is really cool. So I didn't have the chance to sample all of them, but I really enjoyed taking classes where what we learned in my Spanish history class we also talked about in literature or what we talked about in English crossed over with what we're talking about in Mediterranean art history. And I really enjoyed that. It felt like everything, it was separate classes, but they were also all pointing in the exact same direction, which was Spanish culture, Spanish history, Spanish language, and of course the Spanish people, which was, I really thought that was cool. And I got a much deeper understanding of Spain than I would if I had just, taken a class stateside on maybe Spanish culture, because it didn't really make any sense until you see it up close.
Right, yeah, good point. While we're on the topic of classes, we just got a question from Marinelle, who I actually met you, Marinelle, at SYA Italy summer. So I don't know if you remember, but Marinelle wanted to know if it was difficult to adjust to Spanish-speaking classes. Good question.
Very good question.
How was that for you, Stella?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, like, there's going to be, like, a little bit of a learning curve, but I feel like the teachers are very understanding, and they, like, they'll, like, translate things that you don't really understand in the beginning. They'll kind of ease you into it, and then, like, by the time it's, like, halfway through the year, you're, like, very, very comfortable.
Did you find that as well, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I found that I came in and I remember not like the first couple of days it was like a whirlwind because I had prepped over the summer. I'd been watching Spanish TV and reading some Spanish books and stuff, and then to be surrounded by it was like, whoa, what's going on? It definitely was interesting at first, but what was really surprising was how quickly I picked it up. I did end up really becoming very good at Spanish in a short amount of time, which is it's pretty much the only way to go when you're surrounded by it all the time. Mm-hmm. I remember some days I'd come home in like September and I'd like have soaked up so many Spanish words and Spanish vocab and Spanish expressions that like I felt like my head was gonna like explode because there was so much like just coming at me all the time. And then within like a month it was like, and it just sort of, I became more and more comfortable until second semester. I really became fluent, which was a pretty awesome experience. Especially some of our students may speak the language at home, most don't. So for those students who have only ever spoken English as a fluent language, it's a pretty amazing experience to be able to do that with something like Spanish.
Cool. Great, thanks, guys. So when you're not in school, you are able to participate in extracurricular activities, and a lot of students ask about, whether or not they'll be able to do whatever they're interested in abroad. Ella, do you want to talk a little bit about any extracurriculars that you participated in, or even if there's one that your friends participated in? And then Matt, same question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I didn't actually get to participate in this, but I know a lot of my friends really enjoyed the cooking class elective because they got to learn how to cook a lot of like different Spanish dishes, and they thought that was really cool. And I ended up doing like a yoga class and the like aerial Pilates class, which I never tried before. Those are both really awesome. And also I did swimming because I'm on the swim team here at school, so that was really good as well. And I got to, like meet a lot of like Spanish people and learn a lot of Spanish vocabulary about those sports that I wouldn't have known otherwise.
Yeah, that's a great point. What about you, Matt?
So I did, I realized actually from speaking to recent alums, this is still very popular, or so I've heard, but I actually did capoeira, which is Brazilian martial arts, while I was in Spain, which I really enjoyed doing. I had been into martial arts before I got to Spain, but I realized there was a capoeira studio right down the street, and so I became really involved in that, and I got to meet a lot of Spanish friends my age that way. Another way that I got involved was I also we have a sort of it's a little bit hard to describe. It's sort of like a youth exchange program, for lack of a better word. It's like a conversation group called Erasmus Youth, which was very popular in my year, and I know it's popular right now. It's sort of a mini exchange. And I had friends who did salsa dancing, who played tennis. I had students who, like Ella, who swam. There were students who did dance or theater or something like that. So there was really ran the gamut in terms of activities that kids participated in.
Yeah, thanks. And Matt, do you want to just talk about the extracurricular coordinator?
Yes, so we do have an extracurriculars coordinator at SYA Spain, and it's her responsibility basically when upon arrival in SYA Spain, during orientation or soon after orientation, you meet with this. She's a faculty at SYA Spain, and she has knowledge basically of all different kinds of things to do in Zaragoza, from sports teams to art classes to cooking classes to dance, to orchestra, to chorus, to, I mean, really anything, and probably things that you've never even thought of. And her responsibility is basically to set you up with those activities that you want to continue, that you do now at home, if that's at all possible, or if you want to try something new, really letting you know what's happening. And she has really good connections with lots and lots of different people in the community in Zaragoza.
Yeah, I don't know if they were doing this when you were there, but I know this year there has been a basketball team from SYA playing with.
Yeah, my year was the first year that they did that.
Yeah, I see them because they tweet at us all the time. And I go, who is this? You know, and it's always some kind of action shot of our students playing with the Spanish students.
Yeah.
I think they beat us this year pretty hard, but that's okay. It's all about playing games. So for those of you joining us, and if you have some questions, we just have a few minutes here, so make sure that you get those questions in under the chat box. We're going to quickly talk about your favorite trip, Ella, either as part of SYA or as part of independent travel, and then we have an independent travel question that I'll field over to Matt. So Ella, do you want to talk about favorite trips at SYA?
Yeah. My favorite trip was definitely, I took an independent travel with two of my really good friends to Valencia for my birthday, and we had like a lot of fun. It was like my favorite city in the world.
Nice. Matt, do you want to talk about independent travel? Someone asked if there's a distance limit from Spain for independent travel.
A distance limit? No, not per se. There are certain places. We highly encourage students to stay within Spain for independent travel, just because it is a Spanish immersion program, and we want you to be speaking and listening and being around Spanish people as much as possible. Some students choose to leave Spain as part of their course of study. Sometimes they have family in places, especially UK. So some students do that. There isn't a distance limit per se, but each trip is run by, you have to get the approval of the resident director at SYA Spain in order to participate in that. So if you want to go to China, she's probably going to say no.
Yeah.
So just forewarning you there. We do want to keep it reasonable, because the point is really to be able to use your Spanish skills on the road, and also to be able to really grow in a responsible way, to be able to go out and explore things that you want to explore and that you will benefit a lot from. So it sort of goes on a case-by-case basis. And just for the record, my favorite trip was definitely to Sevilla, which a lot of our students go to. I think we go to it almost every year, and it is, next to Zaragoza, it is my favorite Spanish city, so I'm just going to leave that there.
Nice. I just want to make a couple other points on that note. As Matt said, that your independent travel plans have to be run by the RD. They also have to be run by and approved by your parents.
Very important.
So that's a very important piece. Independent travel is also a privilege that's earned. So it doesn't happen right away. It happens after you've proven yourself maturity-wise, behavior-wise, and linguistically that you can handle being on your own out in Spain on your own. Mm-hmm. And also, it's a weekend, right? It might be on spring break.
Right. Spring break is typically the longer one, but typically it's a weekend, or maybe if it's a long weekend, 3 days. Right. So you're typically not going to be going super far-flung places.
Right. Unless they like teleporting in the next couple months, which would be
there awesome. You go.
In which case, I'm going to come and hang out at all of my schools. So before we go, and I think we have one more class, but Ella, I want to find out from you if you have a piece of advice for students. If you could tell your former self, who's sitting on the other side of the screen, one piece of advice for next year, what would it be?
I would definitely say like make an effort, like especially like at the beginning, to get to know your host family really well, because they're going to be like a really good resource. And I mean, I feel like having a good relationship with your host family makes all the difference.
Right. Matthew?
That's a good one. I think
That is good.
If I could tell 16-year-old Matt, I don't know if you'd follow my directions, but I could at least try to impart some knowledge to him. I would say strike up with a conversation with each and every Spaniard that you meet, because some of among my friend group, the Spanish friend group that we cultivated, it was part American, part Spanish. Some of the best friends that we had were people who we just met on the street, and they were our age, and we struck up a conversation with them, and they ended up becoming our friends. And that's one of the things I wish I could have done even more, is just try to reach out and make as many connections as possible, because in the end, it seems like SYA, when you get there, you're like, oh my, wow, I'm gonna be here until May, and then it goes by before you know it, and you say, where did the time go? I wish I could have done X, Y, and Z, but I never got the chance because I wasn't even thinking about it. So just something to keep in mind.
Good. So we have one more question before we go from the audience, and if you do have a question out there, I probably have time for one more after this, but question for Matt, SATs, how do SATs work at SYA Spain?
Sure. So SATs, ACTs, PSATs, and APs, so all the fun ones, those happen at SYA Spain. The test date is the same date typically as it happens in the United States, or around the same time. We are a registered test site, which means that you typically take the test at school, unless for some reason you would take it down the street or something like that. A lot of students, especially our juniors, take the SAT in the fall. You can also take it, I believe, in the spring. There's some other dates, as I have to double check on that. But the dates they're all from the United States, we offer them at Spain. APs are done at the end of the year. PSATs happen in the fall, I want to say. Again, whenever they happen in the United States, and ACTs as well. And we also offer, especially for the SATs, test prep for those specific tests. We actually have a company come out overseas to do prep for those tests.
Yeah. So there's no escaping them.
No, standardized tests. They follow you wherever you go.
All right, everyone. Well, it's just about time for us to sign off. So a couple of things. I just want to encourage you, if you haven't followed us on Instagram, find us on Instagram, because we are constantly posting photos from our current students at SYA Spain. And also you can find us on, obviously, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, lots of videos from SYA Spain. And check out our blog, because our campus reporters, and this is something that you can apply to do next year if you are a blogger or a photographer or a videographer, you can be one of our campus reporters who writes to us from abroad and tells us all about your amazing life and all about the amazing things that you're doing, and then we share it with who will be all of the prospective students. So check out our blog too, because there's lots of stories and videos from our SYA Spain kids right now. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, and if you have any questions or need to follow up on something, I'm the person to talk to. You guys already have my contact information. You should have received multiple emails from me by now. So you can feel free to reach out to me, and I can help you on a one-to-one basis.
And I'll put Matt's contact details in the chat box underneath this, so you can call him with questions, feelings, or just to see how his day is going.
I would love it.
We'd love to hear from you. Ella, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much. And congratulations again to everyone, to SYA Spain class of 2017. Great. Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys.
Bye.